Peppa Pig's world may seem simple, but if you look closely, there are some hidden animation mistakes. Like in the episode Painting, Peppa and George are painting pictures. They start with 3 colors: blue, red, and yellow. Peppa dips her brush in yellow paint, and we can clearly see the yellow on her brush. But when the scene cuts to George and then back to Peppa, the yellow paint on her brush is suddenly gone, even though her canvas is still blank. Moments later, when the scene switches back to Peppa again, the yellow paint reappears on her brush as if nothing happened. In the episode Madame Gazelle's house, Peppa and her family visit Madame Gazelle. They find her house leaning due to a tall tree pushing against it. But while everyone's focused on the house, take a look at the tree. It doesn't add up. First, the tree has no branches. Nothing on it, just a plain, empty tree. Then, when Mr. Bull climbs up to check, suddenly there's an owl, a bird, a nest, and even a beehive. Where did all these things come from? Did they just show up, or did the tree decorate itself out of nowhere? In the episode New House, Daddy Pig takes Peppa and George to see Mr. Bull's new house. Later, when the house is finished, Mr. Bull puts up a swing next to it. Peppa plays on the swing, but then something strange happens. The wolf family arrives, and as they get out of the car, watch carefully. Peppa is still on the swing, but when the wolf family walks up to Peppa and Daddy Pig, the swing is suddenly gone. How can it disappear like that? Just moments ago, Peppa was on it, but now it's nowhere to be found. In the episode Party Bus, Peppa gets invited to Candy Cat's birthday, which is being held on a double-decker party bus. First, we see the bus has only 1 row of seats, but a little while later, everyone's seated, and the bus starts moving. Here's where things get strange. Inside, all the kids are still in that single row of seats, but when we see the bus from the outside, they're suddenly in different rows, like a regular bus. And it doesn't stop there. When the kids sit down to eat, there are 6 sandwiches on the plate. Danny, Susie, and Pedro each grab one. But when you look again, there are still 4 sandwiches left, even though there should only be 3. How did that happen? In the episode The Ambulance, Dr. Bear is the safety expert, warning everyone to be careful. But in a twist, he trips over a bowl, tumbles down a hill, and crashes into a patch of prickly plants. Not exactly the best way to teach safety. While everyone is focused on his fall, something odd happens in the background. When Dr. Bear first falls, the ambulance behind him is completely shut. Everything looks fine. But when the scene cuts to Madame Gazelle and the kids, the ambulance door is suddenly wide open. No one's near it, and everyone's too busy reacting to Dr. Bear's tumble. So how did it open? Did the ambulance want to get in on the action? In the episode Spooky Ghost Hunting, Peppa and her friends head out of the kitchen to look for ghosts. When they leave, there are 5 pumpkins and 3 bowls on the table, and nothing on the shelves near the fridge, except for a clock showing 8 o'clock. But when they come back, something's off. On the left side of the fridge, a big pumpkin and a cake suddenly appear, even though they weren't there before. The clock still shows 8 o'clock, and when you look at the table, there are now 7 pumpkins and 3 bowls. So, where did the extra pumpkins and cake come from? In the episode Library, Peppa and her family visit the library to pick out some new books. When Miss Rabbit takes Peppa and George to the kids section, we can see a table with 4 chairs. But a moment later, when Mummy Pig reads a story to Peppa and her friends, the scene zooms out, and wait, where did the table and chairs go? They're suddenly missing. You might think they moved, but that can't be right because just seconds later, the table and chairs pop back into place like magic. In the episode London, Madame Gazelle takes the class on a trip to London, where they get a tour from the Queen herself. While waiting for the ship to cross the bridge, there's a chart with instructions visible inside the bus. But once the ship crosses and the view of the bus changes, the chart has mysteriously vanished. And that's not the only thing that keeps changing. The bell inside the bus keeps popping in and out of sight throughout the episode. Where did it go each time? In the episode Lost Keys, Peppa and her family visit a beautiful mountain spot. But things take a turn when Daddy Pig accidentally drops the car keys down a drain. To get them back, they buy a fishing rod from Mrs. Rabbit, hoping to fish the keys out. But when Daddy Pig tries, the fishing line is too short. Now, here's where it gets odd. To check how deep the drain is, Mrs. Rabbit drops a stone inside, and we hear a splash, meaning there's water at the bottom. But when Mr. Bull shows up with a crane to pull out the keys, the drain is completely dry. What happened to the water? Did it disappear just like that? In the episode The Market, Peppa and her family head to the market to buy something. After picking up some apples, they stop by Miss Cow's stall. Daddy Pig is holding a basket of apples, and Mummy Pig is right behind him. But here's where it gets odd. When Daddy Pig gets knocked to the ground from the smell of the cheese, both Mummy Pig and the basket suddenly disappear. And that's not all. Later, when they visit Mr. Fox's stall, he shows them a wooden apple, followed by some plastic cheese. The wooden apple stays in place, but when the scene zooms out, it just vanishes. No surprise there, though. There's always something off with Mr. Fox. In the episode The Playground, Peppa and George visit the playground with their friend. In one scene, Daddy Pig gets stuck on the slide while trying to go down. Poor Daddy Pig. But that's not the mistake. To help free him, Peppa and her friends take turns climbing the slide. First, it's Peppa, then Susie, Danny, Candy Cat, Rebecca, and Pedro. Everything seems fine until they free Daddy Pig. When they go down the slide one by one, notice that Rebecca Rabbit is suddenly missing from the lineup. And here's the kicker. When the scene shifts to Daddy Pig, we see Rebecca Rabbit jumping off the slide, but earlier she was behind Candy Cat. How could she jump before him? In the episode Daddy Pig's Birthday, the family is busy preparing a cake for Daddy Pig, with all the ingredients neatly laid out: flour, eggs, milk, and even a wooden spoon sitting next to the chocolate. But as Mummy Pig begins mixing everything in the bowl, something strange happens. The camera zooms out, and suddenly, the wooden spoon has moved. Now it's right next to Mummy Pig. Either she's a super fast baker, or maybe she's hiding some secret magic skills. And George seems to have picked up the same trick. Just after Peppa asks to stir the batter, George stands next to her with empty hand, but in an instant, a second spoon appears in his hand. Out of nowhere, no one passed it to him, and he wasn't holding it before. Looks like in the pig family, baking comes with a bit of magical spoon action. In the balloon ride, Peppa and her family go to a town fair, where Miss Rabbit is running a lucky draw with the prize being a hot air balloon ride. First, there's nothing next to the balloon near Miss Rabbit's stall. But after Peppa wins the draw and the balloon starts to rise, two flagpoles appear beside the balloon, ones that weren't there before. Then, while Peppa is singing in the sky, she's shown sitting between Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig. But when the scene zooms in, suddenly, Peppa is at the edge with no one behind her. And there's more. An anchor rope is visible in front of Peppa, but it mysteriously disappears when she drops her teddy. Then, when they try to rescue Teddy, the rope reappears in front of Daddy Pig. How did it vanish and reappear like that? In the episode Santa's Grotto, it's Christmas time, and all the kids visit Santa to tell him what they want for Christmas. When Peppa and her family go to the Christmas fair, you can spot Zoe Zebra and her mom there too. But here's the funny part. Zoe and her mom are also on the Ferris wheel. Now, you might think they're just different characters of the same species, but they're wearing the exact same clothes. How is that even possible? In the episode Sports Day, the race is about to start, and Peppa and Susie can't stop arguing about who's faster. While they're distracted, Rebecca Rabbit speeds ahead and crosses the finish line first. She gets the trophy, and everyone cheers for her. Everyone except Peppa and Susie, who are still standing at the starting line. But when the scene switches back, Peppa and Susie are still in the same spot, arguing like nothing's changed. How did Susie manage to celebrate with the others if she never even moved? Did she teleport? In the episode Sailing Boat, Peppa and George go sailing with Grandpa Pig. They hop onto his boat, only to find there's no tide to sail. Soon, the tide comes in, and the three pigs happily sail away. But later, they lose the tide and get stranded at sea. Now, here's the thing. When Grandpa Pig calls Grandma Pig, if you zoom in on the deck, there's no hatch. But just moments later, when the scene zooms in again, a hatch suddenly appears right in front of Grandpa Pig. And that's not all. Later, when Peppa and George go to bed, they're still wearing life jackets on top of their clothes. But when Peppa wakes up the next morning, she's magically in her nightgown. How did that happen? In the episode Mr. Potato Comes to Town, everyone in town is excited to meet Mr. Potato. When the pig family arrives at the sports center, pay attention to where they park their car. But here's the mistake. When Mr. Potato finally arrives, he drives his car right through the spot where the pig family's car was parked. So, did Daddy Pig's car just magically move on its own? In gym class, Madame Gazelle takes the kids to Grampy Rabbit's gym. When they arrive, Grampy Rabbit briefs them about the class. Watch closely as Candy Cat and Emily Elephant are standing in different spots. Candy Cat is farther away and Emily is closer. But in the very next scene, their positions completely swap in the blink of an eye. How did they manage to switch places so fast? And it doesn't end there. Later, when Grampy Rabbit is telling a story, the scene cuts to Danny Dog with Zoe Zebra behind him. But when the shot zooms out, Zoe is suddenly behind Susie Sheep. How did that happen? That's it for the hidden animation mistakes in Peppa Pig. Keep your eyes peeled and you might catch even more. Catch you in the next video.